the best of times, it is the worst of times. My name is Buster Green. I'm an anime YouTube reviewer. We currently live in a world that my childhood self could only imagine, where anime is so fucking mainstream, it's celebrated by Olympic athletes, and we live in a world where a live-action Cowboy Bebop TV series was sort of made, just not properly. Anyway, so this wonder world of the year of 2020, this was not always the way things were. I grew up in the 1990s. Anime had this lingering stigma for being a weird foreign thing. People thought it was stupid. I had to put up with assholes my age who just did not get it. I also had a racist uncle who used to point out that, Japan was making better stuff than us as some kind of insane revenge for losing World War II. Anime kind of only became popular throughout the 1990s when Sailor Moon first introduced it to girls, then Dragon Ball Z introduced it to guys, and then finally a few years later, Pokemon finally broke down the Berlin Wall and took anime mainstream. But as blessed as anime is in our current timeline, there were so many ways, so many times, where it could have gone disastrously wrong. A dark legend on the internet, a story as old as time, is the story of the American adaptation of Sailor Moon. American toy executives, being totally aware that Sailor Moon merch was selling gangbusters overseas, especially with little girls, wanted a piece of that plastic toy action. And they wanted to figure out a way to sell those Sailor Moon dolls in the US. Now, similarly to how Transformers was a cartoon created only to sell the Microman and Diaclone toys that were so popular in Japan, Transformers had succeeded in creating one of the most epic stories of all time, and in some California backroom, an idea was created that instead of localizing the wonderful original Sailor Moon anime, they would just straight up make a bastardized remake of Sailor Moon, designed only to sell the toys, and remarket as a show that was safe and fun and happy for American little girl audiences. And so in the middle of it, there was some clueless 1980s TV executive saying,
"So that's Sailor Moon, huh? Where's a fucking sailboat?"
And hence we got the Lost Media Nightmare, which is the pilot for American Sailor Moon. A hybrid live-action cartoon about a gang of girls loosely inspired by the Sailor Senshi, and just as much loosely inspired by, Blossom, who either literally or imaginarily would transform into cartoon Sailor Scouts and literally sail to the moon in their fucking sailboats. My god. Just looking at this clip is so mega cringe. Those horrible 1990s aesthetics. The fact they have crippled Stellar Mercury into a wheelchair girl. But don't worry, she can still walk in space on nothing. This urban legend has been better explored by people who care about it more than I do. They found scripts of it. They never tracked down the original video. It's a lost media legend. But my point about this story is that thankfully, this abomination never came to pass. We did get live-action Cowboy Bebop, though. But anyway, back in the 90s, someone rightfully said that this plan was stupid, it was expensive, it was dumb, and it was a much easier and lazier suggestion that, hey, they could have just dubbed the original anime. And so that's what they did. They dubbed the original Sailor Moon. It went on to have a pretty successful off-and-on run throughout the 90s on a couple of minor channels until eventually Cartoon Network picked it up. And that's how the bullet known as American Sailor Moon was successfully dodged in our timeline. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Today I've learned that this was not the first mangling of an anime by Americans. There was another anime that was remade in such a horrible condition that without me explaining it to you, you would never know it was an adaptation of an anime. 10 years before this, on a channel called CBS,
This is CBS.
there was a show called Galaxy High School. I never heard of this show, but someone recently told me about it, and I've watched it. It's a wacky show. It's about this jock named Doyle Cleverlobe and a 1980s bookworm tryhard girl named Amy Brightower. They get transferred from their normal high school in California to an outer space high school full of aliens because they are the male and female representatives of the human race. And once they transfer into space, that kind of role reversal happens where Doyle goes from being an idiot who is only good at sports and is instantly shunned because sports are ridiculous and meaningless and stupid to space aliens. And meanwhile, the adaptable and well-studied Amy becomes extremely popular with the aliens and just kind of exceeds in life in space. Now, by and large, most of the episodes of the show are boring and pointless, and the most interesting thing about it is that Doyle just sucks in space. He ends up getting pursued by a gang of alien bullies led by a quote-unquote human racist. Human racist. Alright, that's funny. I'm going to steal that one and use it later. Alright, so what the fuck is this show? It's so familiar, but it's so wrong. And then I found out that this show is a fucking nightmare American adaptation of Urusei Yatsura.
You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
My fucking god. They ruined it. I literally had to take a moment of silence to fucking comprehend that. Oh my god. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Urusei Yatsura was Rumiko Takahashi's breakout series about a guy who dates a girl from outer space and they go to high school together. Shenanigans ensue, there are aliens in the high school. Lots of crazy things go down. But Galaxy High School is such a twisted version of that. Okay, so I had to see more about this. I ended up watching the show. It took me about a month to watch it because it was a morbid curiosity and it doesn't hold up that well. The animation's good, but the stories are pretty bad. The best thing I can compare it to is, have you guys ever seen Captain N? It's like Captain N, but without the video game references and the talking Game Boy and all that. Despite that though, now knowing that it's an adaptation of Urusei Yatsura, I can see the influence. It's got that Japanese 80s boom energy, and the quality of the show is almost comparable to Urusei Yatsura. But today, for this video, I just need to ask why? And more importantly, where? Where the fuck is LUM? Now, I always find American adaptations of anime so particularly interesting because of the bizarre and incredibly wrong choices they make. Like the live-action Fist of the North Star remake. Killed that. And then like live-action American Cowboy Bebop Netflix series. They did literally everything wrong. And Galaxy High School, yeah, they did so much wrong that it's unrecognizable as Urusei Yatsura. They literally changed and ruined everything that worked about the original. So let's take an exodus to Galaxy High School. Let's go back to Boom Bubble Japan. Urusei Yatsura was just wrapping up its epic 6-year anime run. And meanwhile, Lupin III Space Adventure Cobra producer Yutaka Fujioka was trying to break into the American market. He was pitching projects left and right. He had just wrapped Lupin III Part 3, the goofy one where Lupin is pink. And Galaxy High School ended up being the first show he pitched to America and the first one that actually made it over here. And this is such a fucking weird show. At this point, there's not a lot of information about what actually happened, so here's a short sketch of how I think things went down. Consider this a thought experiment. For the sake of this thought experiment, I'm going to be Yutaka Fujioka. Hello, is this CBS?
Yes, Mr. Fujioka. I hear you have a show for me.
Yes, so this is the most popular anime show in Japan. It's called Urusei Yatsura.
Oh, really? What's it about?
Oh, well, it's about this fun alien princess from space called LUM Invader. She's a smoking hot teenage girl in a tiger skin bikini.
Heh! Well, that's amazing. Yeah, we can't show any of that in America.
Well, what if she wore more clothes? I mean, sometimes she dresses like a conservative high school girl.
Nah, I've decided I hate her already. Get rid of her.
Sir, she's literally the main character of the show. We can't get rid of her.
I said get rid of her.
But that will mess up every single thing about the show.
So what?
Okay.
What else is in this show?
Well, after LUM, the next most important character is LUM's boyfriend, Ataru. He's a perverted boy who screws everything up.
Okay, fine. We'll rename him Doyle. We'll give him blonde hair. We'll make him not a pervert. And he has to play football now, because this is an American show.
Okay, sure.
Who else is there?
Well, I guess after Ataru, the next biggest character is Shinobu. She's Ataru's girlfriend.
I thought you said Ataru was Lum's boyfriend.
I did.
Isn't that a contradiction?
No, that's the entire show.
What?
You really fucked the show up by removing LUM.
Okay, so what's Shinobu's deal?
Okay, so Shinobu is just a normal girl who wants to have a good life, and she wants to marry Ataru, but other people are trying to date her because he's a scumbag.
Yeah, okay, that works. Just let's name her Amy. Alright, moving on. What usually happens in this show?
LUM goes to high school with Ataru and shenanigans happen.
What kind of shenanigans?
Like space aliens from another galaxy will attack the high school.
Galaxy. High school. Okay, I got it. This show is about kids going to high school in another galaxy.
That's not what I said. That's literally the opposite of what I just said.
Alright, what other characters are there?
Okay, my favorite character is Megane. He's just a nerd.
Oh, I love the nerds. I gotta get that Urkel money. Okay, we gotta keep that character.
But I thought you said the show was going to take place in outer space.
We'll just stick some extra arms on him. No one will notice. What other characters reoccur frequently?
Mendo?
Who's Mendo?
Mendo's a rich asshole. He wants to steal Shinobu from Ataru.
Yeah, okay, we can use that. But let's make him blonde. Let's give him a wheel for legs.
Why would he have a wheel for legs?
Because I like Gizmo Duck. Fuck you, that's why.
By the way, guys, on a serious note, I'm not sure why, but there were a lot of cartoon characters in the 80s that just had unicycles for legs. I really don't get this cliche, but it happened a lot, and then eventually it stopped. Alright, anyway, with all that horrible groundwork laid, an American LUMless adaptation of LUM was somehow created, and that was Galaxy High School. Answering one of the biggest mysteries that I have wondered about for years. Why was there no American adaptation of Urusei Yatsura? There was barely a dub, even though England apparently got a pretty faithful one. And apparently the reason for this mystery is because it was just so bastardized and unrecognizable that it was this fucking show. So beyond those 4 completely unrecognizable carryover characters from Urusei Yatsura, Ren Stimpy character creator and future pedophile John K. was involved in creating a lot of the additional new characters on the show. And if I'm being real, almost all the characters he created were really fucking dumb. Wrapping up this dream team was future Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, Harry Potter director Christopher Columbus. Not to be confused with genocidal Italian serial killer / slave trader Christopher Columbus, just the film director with the same name. Anyway, he directed the first season of the show and to this day holds the rights to the show. Although I'm finding out now that overseas, I think the rights are still held by Tokyo Movie Shinsha, the studio behind Lupin, from some kind of outstanding contract. Anyway, rumor online is that Christopher Columbus, somewhere in the deep dark reaches of his soul, secretly hopes to reboot this thing someday. Thankfully, all his attempts since the 80s have been stuck in development hell since the early 90s, and if he ever does, I have no clue what's going to happen, but it will probably be even more unrecognizable from Urusei Yatsura, and it'll probably just be its own thing. This year, it was announced that Urusei Yatsura is finally being rebooted. Reporting on it was one of the biggest videos I did all year, and I've gotten so many comments from fans who are very hyped up to see the remake, but also ultra worried that in super woke, cancel culture happy 2020, the story of the half-naked alien girl and her sex-crazed pervert boyfriend might be too extreme to be seen in America, and as it turns out, in 1986, it was back then too. Galaxy High School remains one of the weirdest fucking anime adaptations I've ever seen because they removed the main character, they inverted the premise, and of course they took out all the sex. And don't get me wrong, in almost every single anime adaptation I've ever seen, they take out all the sex, but Urusei Yatsura is like so aggressively about sex and love and gender, you know, like pretty much any other Rumiko Takahashi anime. So, yeah, this is the result. Anyway, that's all I gotta say about this today. This exhausted me, but if you guys want to hear more about Galaxy High School, there's one episode that I am going to ironically consider the best one. And if you guys want to see that, that'll be a second video if I continue to stay on this topic. Otherwise, I'm just biding my time waiting for the triumphant return of LUM in all her half-naked glory. So guys, please leave a comment if you're a huge fan of Urusei Yatsura like myself. If you've seen Galaxy High School and maybe didn't know it was a remake. Hell, maybe you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you did like it. Like, tell me what I'm not seeing here. Maybe I'm just judging it harshly as a remake, and maybe it's better when you don't know it's a remake. Anyway, leave a comment and please subscribe. I'm only 180 subscribers from getting monetized. It's hell. Absolute hell. I was me and Buster Green, and thank God I never saw Galaxy High School until today. Good night.
抜け出した窓から